I just need one more sound. How about this one? Hello and welcome to another episode of Music Basics with Ballard. I'm your host Douglas Ballard, and today is Friday, so that means we're going to be doing a Make Music Friday where we take a look at some of the programs that are available out there for making music. And today we're going to be studying GarageBand. One little side note is that when I'm teaching in my school, Friday has been a traditionally Hawaiian shirt day, and I decided I needed some normalcy while I'm doing these lessons. So, it's a Hawaiian shirt day. Hope you like it. I know I do. Just one more thing. This is distance learning for my students, so there's going to be passwords, as there have been in all the other episodes, hidden throughout the entire video for them to find in order to put it into an attendance quiz later. So I appreciate your understanding of that. Let's get going. For those of you that don't know, GarageBand is a program that you can find for free on any MacBook or iPhone or iPad. And it's a pretty powerful application, especially for its use. A lot of people got their start doing recordings on GarageBand before they started moving into more powerful tools. So it's really awesome. It's free, and you can get it on most platforms that most people have. Now, if you have an Android or a PC, we're going to go over some programs for those too, so don't worry. But today we're going to be doing this Apple product called GarageBand. One of the first things I want to show you is that when you hit open up GarageBand, the very thing it's going to ask you to do is what do you want to make? And you can do a new project. It has some options here for learning to play different things. There is an intro to guitar that comes with it. You can buy that, some piano lessons, and some other kinds of lessons that you can purchase. As you can see here in the lesson store, you can get some more lessons to learn to play instruments on GarageBand. We're not going to really talk about those right now because that costs money. We're going to start with a new project. And one of the primary things you can do before you get started is you can either do an empty project, you can do a keyboard collection which actually has a little keyboard function. You can do different types of amps, because let's say maybe you don't have the pedals that you need for your guitar. You can put your guitar straight into the program, and when you put it in there, you're able to put your guitar straight into the program, and you can use the amp collection to do different things to the amp sounds. Now, we're not really going to be taking a look at these two things because I don't have my guitar here, so it's going to be a little bit hard for me to do that for you, unfortunately. But we're going to take a look at one of the very first things you can do, and that is a voice project. You notice when you select the voice project, one of the things that you can take a look at down here is you can change things about the details of that voice project. Now, we're not going to worry about those right now. We'll come back to that when we choose to make an empty project later on. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look at the voice project. Okay, once you have chosen voice, you see that we have a number of little options here. They do have some other options you can add into the list, which is also kind of cool, but we're going to start here first with the Narration Vocal. Now, what can this be used for? Well, a lot of people could use this for podcasting, and in fact, a lot of people do that. We're not really going to get into how to do all this stuff because this is Music Basics. But with the Music Basics, we're going to be trying to understanding a little bit of work. Right now, you can see that it is showing the input from my microphone, the same one I'm using to make this video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself reading something, and you'll hear how it sounds real time, and then I'm going to play it back to you. And it does add a little bit of effects. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you notice that it has some, the EQ is kind of changed around. They add a little bit of what's called squeeze. Squeeze is a compression effect, and it can make your voice sound a little tighter. It kind of gets rid of any of the echo. This thing adds a little bit of reverb and ambiance to try to give it a little bit of sound. Take a listen to me recording this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. So once you've recorded, you can take your recording and you can play it back in the system. So let's take a listen to what we sound like in that recording. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Now we can take, one of the nice things you can do with GarageBand is you can take a hold of that sound, and let's say there was a mistake in it. You can put the marker where you think the mistake is. You can then go up into the track settings and you can split the track right where the playhead is. That's that white line that's going down. And then what you can do is you can select the part that you don't like. Let's say I don't like this part right here. And I'm going to split that I'm going to split that out again and add another split. And then I'm going to just delete it. You notice it's gone. And it's really kind of cool. Like if you have an error, and then you can easily merge the sound effects together by sliding the other sound effect over. So now you'll notice that there's a part missing because I just removed a random part out of the thing. But take a listen. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the. Notice it kind of changed the context, but I think you'll get the idea. Now I'm going to put those back in real quick. And one of the things that's also kind of cool about this is I can take this sound and I can move it down to a different track. So I'm moving it down a track. And now this track, the bright vocal track, watch the controls down at the bottom. I'm going to click on Narration Vocal. So Narration Vocal, you see that the low's a little turned up, the mid's a little turned up, the high's a little turned up. And then you notice that the mid frequency and the low cut are turned up a little bit. You have both some compression on the microphone, which means that it keeps the volume from it keeps the volume from peaking and also from dimming too low. It kind of keeps everything in the same area volume-wise. That's the basic explanation of compression, by the way. And then it adds a little bit of ambiance. Well, when I click on Bright Vocal, you notice that a lot of those have switched. Really bringing up the mid frequency, really turning up the low cut, which is the low tones, and my voice is actually rather low. Turns off the echo. Instead of having what Narration Vocal had, which was the squeeze, okay, and then turning off the echo and not having any. So take a listen to the bright vocal version of the preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Did you hear it? It was really kind of bright and nasally, and it was much different from the original Narration Vocal. Let's move it down one. You can take a listen to this Fuzz Vocal option. This is if you're trying to kind of create a sound effect, or you want to kind of use it as for voiceovers, like say you want it to sound like it's coming through a really ugly speaker. Check it out. Here's Fuzz Vocal. You notice that a couple of the things down the bottom have changed, and take a listen. Here we go. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare. You see, it's got that really kind of fuzzy, bad speaker kind of sound to it. So that's a good way to make a sound effect. You notice over here on the left, there's a whole number of these other things. I'm not going to pull them all out, but just so you get an idea, here's if you want it to sound like you're on a telephone, you're reading the Constitution on a telephone call. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Or if you want to make it sound like maybe there's a robot reading it. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. It's a little weird, right? You can do some pretty cool things with it. A lot of people like to use the vocal recording part to do what's called a voiceover. For those of you who don't know what a voiceover is, that's when someone records their voice and then it gets played over something else. It could be anything from a cartoon, or if I did that constitutional preamble over pictures of mountains or national parks. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. That would be a voiceover. sometimes people consider sportscasting to be a form of voiceover. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can use that portion of GarageBand in order to do either podcasts or voiceovers or whatever you want to use it for. But we're going to move on and use the music portion of it. One of the other functions that GarageBand is good for is multi-track recording. So I'm going to show you how we do that really quickly. And then I'll give you an example of one that I have done in the past. So I'm going to click on Empty Project, and I'm going to choose it. Once you've opened up the project, you'll notice that it automatically generates a track that it calls Audio 1. I'm going to change the title of that by double-clicking on it and saying, let's call it the top part. So the top part is now our top track up there. And you also notice at the top that there's a small blue bar that has some information in it. It tells you what bar number or measure number. Bar is just a shortened version for the word measure. We've learned about those already. And it tells you what beat inside that measure you're on. The next thing you see is that you can change the tempo, and you can set that tempo to whatever you want, and it's like its own personal metronome. The next information is your time signature or your meter, which we've talked about in a previous episode. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go check that out. And then the last thing you can do is you can change the key signature. These are all things you could have done when you were creating the project, but you can also do them in the project right here. I'm actually going to change the key signature to say F major because the piece of music I'm about to use as an example is in the key of F major. We'll talk about key signatures later on in Music Basics, but for right now, just trust me on this. One of the last things that you can change is you can change what information goes across the top. You can tell it, I want the beats and the project information, which is what it tells you right now. You can tell, I want beats and time. So what beat and bar or measure you're on, and how long the piece is because of that. And you can also just tell it, I just want to know the beats. Just give me the beats, even the really tiny subdivisions. I want to know those too. Or you can just do, I just want to know the time. And when you do that, you'll notice that the bar right below it only displays the time that the piece is going along. And it shows you it in increments of 5. You can zoom in by moving this slider to the far right, and it'll zoom in closer and closer. Leaving it the 5-second mark is a pretty good idea. All right. So let me get that set up again, and now let me get back to having beats and project up so they can have all that information. All right, we're ready to do a multi-track recording. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play a little piece of music here on the piano, just a couple of measures, and we're going to show you how the multi-track recording process works. First thing I want to point out is that GarageBand comes with this really awesome extra feature up here at the top, and that feature is that you can click on this little purple box that has the 1, 2, 3, 4 in it, and you can turn on, when it's purple, what's called a count in, and it'll count in for you so that you can start recording at the right time. Also, right next to it is that triangle with a little stick sticking off from it, and that is a representation of a metronome. You know what metronomes are because we talked about them in Rhythm Basics 1 and 2. So hopefully you understand that a metronome is what helps you keep in time if you haven't seen those videos. So that's really kind of cool because it helps you really make sure everything gets lined up. So here we go. We're going to try recording the top part. Okay, now I've got the top part recorded. We need to add another track. So we go up to the option at the top that says track, and we say new track. It's going to ask us a couple questions. We're going to tell it right now that we're just recording with a microphone, and we're going to create it. All right, so here we go. We're on track number 2. I'm going to relabel that by double-clicking the middle part. Okay, so here comes the middle part's recording. Okay, we now have the top part and the middle part recorded. Let's take a listen to those being played together. Sounds pretty good, right? You could hear the metronome still clicking to try to give you an idea when you're playing it back. You can easily turn that off by unchecking the box and not making it purple. So listen to it without the metronome in it real quick. See, that metronome sound isn't in the recording. It's just in your ear to help you understand it. All right, let's do our final part. Okay, we're going to go up to the track, new track. We're going to record audio, and audio 3 is going to get renamed the bottom part. Okay, now that we're ready to record, let's do it. wasn't much to that part, but we'll check it out. Okay, here's our 3 parts together. Let's take a listen. Not too bad for throwing together a quick recording, but that's so you get the idea of how that works. Now I'm going to give you an example of one that I've done in the past. What you see here is a piece of music I recorded recently called The Ave Maria by Ballard. This is a very lovely piece of music, and it's written for men's chorus. I actually took the time to record every single different part. I'm going to play for you the finale into the ending, just so you can get an idea. This has 8 separate tracks. The one track you're not going to hear is the solo track. There isn't any solo tracks right going into this part, but the rest of the tracks were all recorded by me, including the solo track. You're just not going to hear it this time. Let's take a listen.
Sancta Maria. Pro nobis peccatoribus peccatoribus Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, pro nobis
Now you'll notice one of the things that's going on here is one of the options I can change is the volume bar. And one of the things I noticed is that my tenor line was a little bit too loud at the end. So you can see where I made some adjustments to the tenor line's volume. You see that yellow line and you see those little marks. That's me actually going through and individually pulling the volume a little bit farther down. One of the nice things about multi-track recording is that when you make mistakes like that, you actually can go through the program and kind of fix it on the fly. And being able to do that on a free program is pretty awesome, because sometimes even $1,000 programs don't really have a really good version of that. So being able to do it here on GarageBand is pretty cool. So we're finally going to start talking about one of the major functions that GarageBand has been able to do. And it actually has been able to do this since the beginning. When it first came out, it really was only used for this. And that is creating music loops. They're pretty cool. And what they are is a way for you to create your own music and have a little studio in front of you with pre-made things that you can do whatever you want with them. That's because they're what's called royalty-free. You understand that if you're using these loops, that you can put this music anywhere you want, and that these loops are free for you to use. Now, there's certain things you have to be careful of. What does royalty-free mean? Well, it means that you don't have to pay someone to use them, that someone was either already paid for it and they have given permission for people to use it for free, or they were just put out there and no one owns the rights to them. You have to be really, really careful. Copyright is not something to mess around with, and one of the greatest things that people can do with GarageBand is create music for their Music with Basics videos and use them, or all kinds of other things. I personally actually use a piece of royalty-free music at the beginning and end of my pieces. That Curtain Rises piece, I got that off of a website that offered royalty-free music. If you notice, every time I put this video up, only thing I have to do is credit them. But with GarageBand, I don't even have to do that. One of the best parts about GarageBand is the royalty-free part of all these loops and the access to the music you can create. So let's get started on that. Before we get going with the loop track, I'm going to give my first word of the day, and that word is big, as in a lot of people like to say I'm really big. I like to use the word tall, but we're big. Okay, we're gonna get started on our recording here. Now, the first thing that we need to notice is that at the top, it's gone back to the standard settings of 120 beats per minute, 4/4 time, and in C major. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to leave it just like that. The one thing that we don't have right now are the loops. I'm actually going to get rid of this little bottom track with the controls on it because I don't need that right now either. And I'm also now going to add in the loops. You notice that this menu has shown up on the side. Now, you'll notice that there are all kinds of instruments in here, and it's really kind of a challenge to try to pick out which one you want. I'm just going to scroll down for a little bit. Right now, they're in alphabetical order, and it's just an incredible amount of things that come with this program. And remember, all of these are royalty-free, and you can use them anywhere. Once you use them from GarageBand, and if they're in the GarageBand program when you start it, you can use them anywhere. Remember, if you add in anything of your own, you have to make sure that it's royalty-free if you want to add it in and then use it everywhere else. Because you don't want to use someone else's intellectual property that you don't have permission to use. Okay? So just be really, really careful about that. Now, one of the things that we can do is over here, we can kind of work our way through that menu. And we can say, oh, we want all of them, or we want all of the, let's say we want all of the bass. So right now, all we have in the window is all of the bass loops that we have, and still, if you notice at the bottom, there's still 637 items. So let's just try to find something that might sound cool. All right, cool, upright bass. Let's try that. That's a pretty cool part. I like the way it goes. It kind of strums its way through. Maybe not what we're looking for. Let's try... Oh, let's just scroll down a little bit and try, ooh, groovy electric bass, number 8. All right, let's say let's say we like that one. Let's take that track and we're gonna drop it right onto the thing. You notice now we have this loop that says Groovy Electric Bass 8. Now, one of the things that you can do now that you have dropped in that thing is you can remove that top audio 1 track. You don't really need that right now, so I'm gonna delete it so it's no longer in the window. So right now we have this Groovy Electric Bass number 8. Let's take a listen. All right. And that's it. It's just a little 8-beat track. Now, let's say we want to do it some more. Well, one of the nice things is we can drag this track out and keep it looping. So let's loop it for 8 measures. So now let's go back to the beginning and try it again. You get the idea. It goes for 8 measures. What you do is you grab that little looping line at the top and you drag it down, and you can drag it out as far as you want. All right, that groovy electric bass needs something. Let's say we need a guitar. Let's find a guitar to go with it. Electric guitar sounds like a good idea to me. So we have some electric guitars, and we're gonna take a look through these right now. Let's see what we got. There are some that are gonna line up better because they're called groovy electric guitar, but we don't have to use those. We can try something else. So let's try this funky electric guitar number 2. All right, let's see how that sounds when we drop it on our. Let's see how that sounds when we drop it onto our electric bass. We're gonna let that electric bass go. We don't want to go right away, so we're gonna set it into measure 3. Let's let the electric bass have 2 measures on its own, and we're gonna set that loop down right there. Let's see how it sounds. We'll go back to the beginning and just listen real quick. I think they kind of overlap each other too much, so let's take that out. I'm gonna just do a quick delete of that track, and let's find something else. All right, here we go. Maybe we just need a little bit of something just to play some extra tunes underneath here. Let's take a listen to this double note guitar. Let's see what this sounds like, our groovy electric bass part. Yeah, see, it's kind of hard to find things that line up with each other. Yeah, those don't really go, right? So you can spend some time just kind of trying to figure out how to line things up, or you can go, wait, I can just put things together that I know are going to work. So let's take a look at that. Groovy electric bass. Let's get rid of that double. Actually, I want to get rid of that double note guitar. Let's try that. I'm going to delete that track, and let's drop a nice full measures lead guitar. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's see what that sounds like by itself first. Okay, let's take a listen now with the bass added, dragged across it. Oh yeah, there we go. We found something that lines up. All right, let's try that. We'll do that for a few measures and go. Ready? All right, and we all know what that needs. We need some drums. So let's go find some more drums. We need some instruments. Let's try to, oh, here you go, all drums. Let's try, see what we got here. We got different kinds of beats. Let's listen to them. Well, that's got some music put into it. Let's try to find something else. Let's try throwback funk beat. That actually might kind of go with what we got there. Let's see what happens. Grab that, and I'll drop it underneath our guitar, and we'll just go to the spot right by where they're playing from, and let's hear it. Yeah, let's go from the beginning now. Yeah, and there's all kinds of things you can do with these loops. There's all kinds of instruments in here. Like some of the options that we have, I'll just go through some of our options. We have different things that are in different moods. We can find things that are cheerful. Here's something that's cheerful. Vintage funk kit is considered cheerful. Or how about victory horns? Not quite what you were expecting, huh? Let's just scroll up a little bit. Oh, let's try some of these southern rocks. These are always fun. Add in some guitar, maybe? Yeah, nice, happy, strummy guitar. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool options in here. So you can just check out all these things, and all you do is you grab a hold of it, and let's say we just suddenly want to go into this southern rock guitar. Let's see what happens. See if it sounds okay. Yeah, totally changes the mood, doesn't it? Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things you can do. I'll give you some examples now. One of the things that I like to do with my students in GarageBand is have them make a collaborative song from time to time. Here's an example of one of those from my 7th grade band from last year. I've held on to it because I thought it was a lot of fun, so take a listen. Oh, I'm sorry, before playing my recording, I want to make sure to tell you that the second word today is thunder, as in, I'm gonna come down like thunder! So, there you go, thunder. Notice they have all kinds of things mixed together. Blue means that they were live recorded. Green means that they are synthesized from the tracks, and the tracks will tell you when you put them onto the track list. Little drum break to separate it there. I thought that was a pretty good idea. Now that flute is kind of fascinating because it's really meant to be for like an orchestral flute. I like the way it fits in. One of the things we talked about is the value of breaking up the music so it doesn't just keep doing the same things over and over again so people don't lose interest in listening to it. They want it to be like their own, like, drop the bass moment. So I think it's coming in now. I think one of the clarinets got their word in on the end there. Oh yeah, I forgot. They have sound effects too. One of the things you can add into your podcast, like we were talking about before, is little like jokey sound effects and things like that. They're kind of fun. One of the features that I really like about GarageBand is the filters, and I was talking about them a little bit before, but I'll kind of show you how they work now. Let's just say we want to go with a specific genre of music. We click that genre button, and then it drops down a whole menu of things that we can choose from. Well, let's see. Let's go with an orchestral one, just because I'm an orchestral kind of guy. And you notice that it has now whittled down that list to still 1,204 different loops, and there's all kinds of different things. There's the Kingdom Church organ. Maybe you're trying to do like a background music for a wedding or something to that effect. You can make one like that. You have all kinds of different options here. Let's try the Escape Cellos. Sounds like it's someone trying to prepare to run away, isn't it? We're going to talk more about the use of things like this in movies later on. So check this out. We're going to go with, let's do a little classical piano. And you can also just kind of back out from there, and if you want to undo the orchestral, then do that. And then you can also take a look at some of these other options here, like there's cinematic, and there is indie, electro house, modern R&B, dubstep, all kinds of different kinds of loops that have been added into GarageBand that are free for you to use. So that's pretty cool. Now, the example I have up here on the screen is called Space Techno, and I named it that because, well, a friend of mine was trying to do something where he was creating a little space video, and he wanted something that was kind of like a house techno beat with space sounds in it. So I did the best I could to create this for him, and he put it into his video for a project. So take a listen to Space Techno. Because this is basics, I don't want you to think that the only thing that you can do on GarageBand has like techno beats and rock beats behind it. They have all kinds of options. There's so many options, it would be impossible to really show you all the different genres. So I try to keep it kind of limited for this. You should check out GarageBand if you haven't had a chance. It's such a great program. It's free, and that's the best part about it. And if you have any kind of Apple product, you're able to access that. Now, there are programs that are out there like Super Duper Looper and a couple other things that do exactly the same thing, and you should check those out if you don't have an Apple product. But I hope you can get maybe ask your friend, can I borrow your phone, and play along with their GarageBand. It's so much fun. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our exploration of GarageBand today. Before we go, I am going to give the final word, and that is mountain, as in climb every mountain. All right, if you don't know what that's from, look it up. Sound of Music, great musical. Again, mountain. Anyway, I've had fun on Make Music Friday. Hope you've enjoyed Hawaiian Shirt Friday too. I'm going to miss your faces. See you, bye.
you doing?
I thought they made a good fashion accessory with my headphones.
Give me back my ears.
Oh.